Some islands should not exist. One is a volcano that grew a second volcano inside itself, and people moved in. One is so hostile to life that space agencies use it to simulate missions to another planet. One sealed itself off from the ocean 12,000 years ago, trapping creatures that have since evolved into something completely different. One becomes, after dark, a shore that glows electric blue, as if the ocean is lit from within. And one is a piece of rock the size of a city bus, alone in the North Atlantic, that 4 countries are willing to go to court over. These islands are real, they are bizarre, and they are each bizarre in a way that has nothing to do with any of the others. Aogashima is administered by Tokyo and sits 358 kilometers south of the city in the Philippine Sea. Getting there requires a ferry that is canceled roughly 60% of the time, or a helicopter that carries 9 passengers and cancels 30% of the time. On some weeks, the island has no connection to the outside world at all. The island itself is a volcanic caldera, the collapsed top of a volcano that last erupted between 1781 and 1785. The caldera walls rise steeply on all sides, making the island look from a distance like a fortress rising from the sea. But inside those walls, the caldera floor is flat and sheltered. And that is where the village sits. And at the center of the caldera floor, growing out of the ground, is a second volcano. Maruyama, a smaller cone that rises inside the outer caldera like a mountain inside a bowl. It is still classified as an active volcano. Around 170 people live on Aogashima. The island has 1 store, 1 post office, and 3 bars. The residents grow sweet potatoes and fish the surrounding sea. The geothermal heat from the volcanic activity below the island vents through the ground in specific places. Residents use these vents to cook, placing eggs and sweet potatoes directly on the ground above the heat source. There is also a geothermal sauna, heated entirely by the volcano beneath it. The island's local distillery produces aochu, a shochu made from sweet potatoes grown in volcanic soil. One odd fact about Aogashima is, the island is so remote that for long periods of Japanese history, mainland authorities were uncertain whether anyone there was still alive after the last eruption. The island has had to rediscover and re-establish its own population more than once. From a volcano with a village inside it, we go somewhere that has no village, and never has. The next island is the largest on Earth with no permanent human population, and NASA has decided it is the closest thing to another planet that we can reach without leaving this one. Devon Island covers 55,247 square kilometers in the Canadian High Arctic, roughly the size of Croatia, and has no permanent human population. The year-round average temperature is minus 16 degrees Celsius. In winter, the sun does not rise for months. In summer, it does not set. The terrain is polar desert, flat, rocky, almost without vegetation, battered by wind off the sea ice of Baffin Bay. At the center of the island is the Houghton Impact Crater, 23 kilometers wide, formed by a meteorite impact roughly 39 million years ago. Almost nothing grows on the crater floor. The combination of extreme cold, aridity, polar day and night cycles, and near total absence of vegetation makes Devon Island the most Mars-like environment reachable without leaving Earth. Since 1997, NASA has used Devon Island as a testing ground for Mars mission technology. Researchers spend the summer months at a research station on the crater rim, testing rovers, drilling equipment, and life support systems in conditions as close to Martian as the planet currently offers. Devon Island is not restricted. It simply has nothing on it. No infrastructure, no shelter, no supply chain. The environment defeats habitation on its own terms. From an island that is too extreme for life, we go to one where life found a way, sealed off from the ocean, evolving quietly in the dark for 12,000 years. Ailmalk is one of the rock islands of Palau, a limestone outcrop covered in jungle, rising from turquoise water. Accessible only by boat. What makes it extraordinary is not the island. it is what is inside it. On the eastern side of Ailmalk, enclosed within the limestone, is a marine lake called Jellyfish Lake. It formed around 12,000 years ago, when rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age flooded a depression in the limestone. When the glaciers receded and sea levels fell again, the lake was sealed off from the ocean. Marine creatures, including jellyfish, were trapped inside. Narrow fissures and cracks in the limestone still connect the lake to the sea, maintaining the salt content, but nothing larger than a bacterium can pass through them. The jellyfish that were trapped 12,000 years ago have been evolving in isolation ever since. Without predators, the sting, which in jellyfish is primarily a defense mechanism, became unnecessary. Generation by generation, the stinging cells reduced until they are now essentially undetectable to humans. The golden jellyfish of Jellyfish Lake are harmless enough that visitors can swim through clouds of them. Each day, millions of them migrate across the lake following the sun, specifically following the algae that live inside their bodies and need sunlight to survive. The lake's lower depths contain a layer of hydrogen sulfide toxic to humans, so scuba diving is banned. The surface, where the jellyfish live, is safe. From a lake where creatures forgot how to defend themselves, we go to a beach where the ocean itself seems to have come alive. The next island glows. Muddu Island sits in Ra Atoll, in the northern Maldives. During the day, it looks like any other low coral island. White sand, turquoise water, fishing boats. After dark, the water changes. When waves break on the shore, they glow. Not faintly, brilliantly, in electric blue light that makes the surf look as though it is lit from within. The beach of Muddu is known as the Sea of Stars, and on the right night, it is one of the most visually extraordinary natural phenomena on Earth. The cause is bioluminescent phytoplankton, single-celled marine organisms called dinoflagellates that produce light through a chemical reaction when they are disturbed. A wave breaks, the plankton are agitated, and they emit a brief, vivid blue pulse. Millions of them doing this simultaneously turns the surf into something that looks like it belongs on a different planet. Walking along the waterline leaves glowing footprints in the wet sand. Throwing a stone into the water produces a burst of blue light where it lands. The phenomenon occurs most intensely between June and October, on dark nights near the new moon. The same plankton that lights the beach also drives something spectacular beneath the surface. Hanifaru Bay nearby concentrates plankton so effectively that it attracts hundreds of manta rays, which form rotating circles to feed. Cyclone feeding. The glowing beach and the manta tornado share the same source. One you see after dark at the surface, the other you see by day beneath it. From a beach that glows at night, we go to a rock that refuses to go quietly. Rockall is a piece of granite in the North Atlantic, 370 kilometers west of Scotland. It is 21 meters tall and 31 meters wide, about the height of a 4-story building. Under international law, it technically cannot qualify as an island because it cannot sustain habitation. Despite this, it has its own entry in the law books of the United Kingdom. Rockall is the exposed tip of a seamount formed around 55 million years ago. What is visible above water is the hardest core of that structure, basalt that has survived 55 million years of Atlantic weathering while everything around it eroded away. The sides drop vertically into the sea. There is no beach, no shelf. The Atlantic breaks against it and falls straight back. The only flat surface is at the very top, barely large enough to stand on. The rock sits at the geographic center of a dispute involving 4 countries, the United Kingdom, Ireland, Iceland, and Denmark acting for the Faroe Islands, over who controls the seabed and fishing rights in the waters around it. Under international law, a rock that cannot sustain habitation cannot generate a 200 nautical mile economic zone. But a rock that is part of a continental shelf can still generate continental shelf rights. The Rockall Plateau, beneath the ocean around the rock, may contain significant oil and gas reserves. The rock itself is worthless. What it points to is not.